to the Dome of the Rock, what is the main story. Now, Dome of the Rock, before the coming of Islam, and there is a rock which is placed on a pit. एक जो बड़ा सा गड़ा है उसके ऊपर एक रॉक पड़ी हुई है like a roof. And then with that rock, जो छत पड़ा हुआ है उस रॉक का, उसके उस बीच में एक सुराख भी है. Now, before the coming of Islam, people of this area used to gather at this place, and they used to pour the blood of the virgins into this hole as a mark of their sanctity or the observation of their religion, practices whatever they were. तो virgins की कुर्बानी जो करते थे, फिर virgin का जो खून होता था, वो उस सुराख की वजह से इसके अंदर उंडेल देते. Now, I have a question, and you have to look at the answer. Why, in every ancient civilization, we come across this sacrifice when the people are not sacrificing animals or birds, but they are sacrificing the virgins? Why they are sacrificing the virgins? That's a very important question. Or why they are not sacrificing male people or male boys? Why it's this? Why the virgins only? जीवन बेचारे virgins का क्या कसूर है? If you study the Egyptian civilization, वहाँ भी बेचारे उनका ही कसूर है. If you go to Western Asia, वहाँ भी बेचारे virgins ही भड़काई जा रही हैं. And if we come to the Palestine, यहाँ भी the virgins are the victim for the sake of these qurbanis. तो इसकी बड़ी study है, आपको चाहिए. You have to find out the answer. Why the virgin is so important in history of almost all civilizations throughout the history of the world. So this is the picture. This is the brown area is the rock, not very high rock, and it's quite long and quite broad. And the pit is underneath this. The rock is covering it, and there is a hole also. And if you go down in this pit or the cave, this cave has quite a few niches in this. Niches like mihrabs. And it is believed that much before the coming of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the Prophet, those who came before him, they used to go into this cave or this pit and sit in these alcoves or in mihrabs for the sake of worship and meditation. तो बहुत से नबियों का नाम इसके साथ जुड़ा हुआ है, particularly हज़रत इसहाक़, हज़रत याकूब and many others. तो लोग यहाँ बैठ के इबादत करते रहे. Ultimately, this place became very, very holy to the people who learned about these prophets during their time and immediately after their time. Then the second, the important thing which I was telling you, the blood of the virgin was poured into this hole. When the blood was poured into this hole, obviously number of blood was accumulated into this rock. हमेशा तो नहीं होता होगा, but when the botanist, the people who are expert in the science of agriculture and plants, so on, they tell us that so much blood was poured into this cave or this pit from time to time that this accounts for the fertility of this area. And because of this fertility, the area became very, very fruitful for the growth of grapes. और अगर आप ग्रेप्स की हिस्ट्री पढ़ें तो आपको पता चलेगा ग्रेप्स की बेल जहाँ भी लगाई जाती है तो पानी के अलावा उसमें खून भी डाला जाता है बेल के जड़ों में. तो आजकल ज़ाहिर इंसानी खून तो नहीं डालते, लेकिन आई रिमेंबर माय फादर हैड ए बेल इन द हाउस. अंगूरों की बेल थी, तो वो बकरे का खून ला के उसमें डालते थे. एंड देन द बेल यूज्ड टू गिव लॉट ऑफ फ्रूट. सो दैट इज़ वन रीज़न. अनदर रीज़न इज़ इट आल्सो enhance the growth of another fruit which is known as the fig, and the third is the olive. तो ये सारी चीज़ें इस इलाके में बहुत आज से पाई जाती हैं. And the experts say that it is all account of this blood which was poured into this rock or into this hole for years, for hundreds of years before the coming of Islam or the coming of the prophets who taught not to sacrifice the virgins for this sake. So that is the importance of the hole, and that is the importance of this cave or the pit, and that is the importance of the fertility of this area. Now coming to the building itself, the building is the finest example of geometry. We can analyze this building into many, many ways. But the main thing is that we can see that this building has a circular area inside, and then this circular area is again encircled by another row of columns and piers, and then outside we have 8 walls in the form of an octagon, and then it has got 4 entrances. And these are various descriptions or geometrical divisions of this building. So it's quite high dome, and incidentally, it is not one of those traditional domes as we see these days. It is quite different from the domes which are constructed today. If you look at this drawing carefully, we have one shuttering over here and one shuttering over here. In between, there is an empty area. And then this empty area is joined by the plugs. जहाँ जहाँ plugs लगे हुए हैं ताकि दोनों चीज़ें दोनों कवरिंग्स हैं एक दूसरे के साथ जुड़ ना जाएं. So in order to keep the distance, यहाँ barriers लगा दिए गए हैं in between. So actually there is the inner shell and there is the outer shell. Both these shells are made of timber, not of stone or anything else. The dome, which is approximately 65 feet or 20 meters in diameter and is mounted on an elevated drum, rises above a circle of 16 piers and columns. Surrounding the circle is an octagonal arcade of 24 piers and columns. Below the dome, a portion of the sacred rock is exposed and protected by a railing, protected by a railing. The height of the dome is 20.48 meters. So this is the basic dimensions of this building. The outer walls repeat the octagon, each of the 8 sides being approximately 60 feet wide and 36 feet high. Both the dome and the exterior walls contain many windows. There are 16 windows in the drum of the dome which act as the clerestory for the admittance of light and air into the building. A simple geometrical description would come like this, that if you look at the inner octagon, it comprises 4 rectangles. First rectangle is this defined by a red line. The second rectangle which is in the form of a cross on the first one, described by the green lines. The third rectangle is placed obliquely at 45 degrees, described by the blue lines. And this blue line rectangle is again crossed by another rectangle, which is described by the purple lines. So there is one combination of vertical and horizontal in the shape of a plus, and then other combination of 2 rectangles in the shape of a multiplication sign. And then outside this, then from this place to this place, there is a ramp, a kind of slope of the roof of the building, and then we have the outer wall. These little things show you the blind windows over here, show you some details of blind windows in this. In this area, this is the main entrance to the building. And over here, you can see the rock in the middle. Now we're looking at this picture, which is a section. Now, when it's used the word section, I think that also needs a little explanation. Today or nowadays, we also often use the word section, but without knowing the meaning of the section. For example, अगर कहीं लड़के क्लास में बहुत ज़्यादा हो जाए, 100 आ जाए, तो हम कहते हैं 2 सेक्शन बना ले 50-50 के. तो सेक्शन का मतलब क्या होगा, या 3 सेक्शन बना ले. तो सेक्शन का फिर मतलब क्या है? What is the meaning of the section? Section literally mean cutting. किसी चीज़ को हम काट दें, तो that is known as the section. तो यहाँ this is the section of the building. तो building को हमने यहाँ से कट कर लिया. In order to explain various parts of the building. अगर हम कट ना करते, तो it's difficult to see. For example, by cutting, we can now see the slope. Now we can see this shape of the building. We can see the dome. We can see the clear story. We can see the rock inside. Rock के साथ एक दीवार से बनी हुई है. And then the inner columns and piers and the outer column and pier, and then the ambulatory and the outer wall. These black lines show where the building has been cut. Let me show you another picture. Now this geometrical figure shows you some basic things of this building. The first thing is that this area which is circular is known as rotunda. This is inner rotunda. Number two, this is also circular area. This is the second rotunda. Then we have the columns in between piers. These are the piers which are rectangular or multi-angled. They are known as the piers, and the circular things are known as the columns. So they are the columns here and column piers here, inner columns, and these are the outer columns and piers. These are the inner columns and inner piers. Now in this diagram come across some other important features of this building. For example, at the top we have a crescent followed by a finial or a khalsa. I'll tell you what khalsa is and what a finial is. Then we have the golden dome, the clear story of these 16 windows over here. The drum is supported on the drum is supported by these buttresses so that it doesn't fall outside. Remember that drum is the outcome of a Latin word which is dromos. Dromos now we use as a drum which is in a circular form. And the dome we have derived from another Latin word which is domus. Domus is the actual word from which we have derived the word dome. Now the domus in Latin simply means a building, the top story of a building. जिसके ऊपर कुछ नहीं बन सकता. And that is very right in the case of the dome. कि dome एक ऐसी structure है कि उसके ऊपर हम कुछ बना ही नहीं सकते. It's very simple. So that is known as a domus. उससे हमने dome adopt कर लिया in English. And the drum is which is something circular but not in the form of a dome. तो जो चीज़ दायरेदार हो उसको हम कहते हैं ड्रोमोस या उसको हम ड्रम कह लें. तो ये जो एरिया है, this area, it is just a circle. It is the drum or the dromos. So dromos, yesterday we were talking in another lecture. Dromos, from the dromos we have another word which is drome, D-R-O-M-E. So पुराने वक्तों में, if you remember, the airports were known as aerodromes. Why aerodromes? कि जहाज छोटे होते थे पहले वो आके ऊपर एरोड्रोम के या एयरपोर्ट के ऊपर दायरे में घूमते रहते, चक्कर लगाते थे. And when they were given clearance, then they used to come down. And because of that, those checkers, the airports were known as aerodromes. Likewise, if we study the Roman architecture, तो वो theaters, बड़े-बड़े theaters जहाँ घोड़ों की दौड़ें होती थी, they were known as hippodromes. So hippo mean the horses and the drome mean in circle. The horses were running in the circle, so they were known as the hippodromes. तो ये उसका application है. Hippo simply mean horse. जैसे most of you know why an area in history of civilization known as Mesopotamia, Mesopotamos. तो जो है, it's not related to hippo, but anyway, it is also related to Latin language. The mesos means between and potamos means water. The area which is located between two rivers. Two waters were known as Mesopotamos, ultimately known as Mesopotamia because it was between two rivers. तो मेरा उस कहने का मतलब है जब कहते हैं hippopotamus, तो hippopotamus means the घोड़ा of the water, which is I think the real घोड़ा which we got today. So that is how the origin or how we get the origin of these words, which is technically known as the etymology, and that is very important to remember. These things are where from these words have emerged and how they have changed from one position to another position. And that transition or the change of the words or the metamorphosis of words still continuing, it doesn't end anywhere. Coming back to this building, the great building, in the middle there is a rock. And then around the rock there is a little wall standing there. It's an improvised wall. This wall is known as a maksura. Now let me explain what maksura is. तो जो लोग तो हिस्ट्री ऑफ आर्किटेक्चर में मॉस्क स्टडी कर रहे हैं और those who have studied the history of the mosque in the early period of Islam, उनको तो मकसूरा का पता होगा. But those who do not know, for their knowledge, let me explain what maksura is. So this is the blow up. This is the little area, little thing is here. The rock is here, and the maksura is here, and this is the detail. The rock is here, and this little wall is known as the Maksura. Now, at the beginning of the history of Islam, after the death of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, we come across a period which is known as the period of Khulafa Rashidin. And while we study the life history of the Khulafa, we come to know that except Hazrat Abu Bakr alayhi salam, the rest of the three Khulafa Rashidin, they were assassinated in the mosque while they were praying. So then it was thought very important that while the Imam is leading the prayer in the mosque, he should be protected. उसको expose नहीं होना चाहिए so that the enemy cannot come. Because while the Muslims are praying, they उधर दाएं बाएं तो नहीं देख रहे, ना ऊपर नीचे देख रहे हैं. So in order to avoid that danger of any assassin coming into the mosque and killing anybody, it was found very important that around the place of the Imam, a boundary wall should be built. तो जिस वक्त नमाज पढ़ाई जा रही हो तो इमाम के गिर्द वो दीवार खड़ी कर दी जाए, so that nobody can approach him. We can only listen to him, but we cannot approach him. So that wall which was created around the Imam, that wall was known as Maksura. तो Maksura से there is a little deviation also. किसी चीज़ को सेव करना हो, जिसको बचाना हो, किसी चीज़ को छुपाना हो, तो we have another word also which is known as मस्तूर. जैसे ख़वातीन को कहते हैं मस्तूरात, मतलब they are covered under the veil. But the Arabic word, the more notable word is the Maksura. So this is a picture of a Maksura, a small wall or a timber wall built around the Imam of the masjid or Imam of the leader of the prayers. And this wall is removed afterward. So it is an improvised kind of thing, not a permanent construction. This is another area, another Maksura. Most probably the Imam stand in this area. Yet another picture of a Maksura. So these are the earliest times of Islam. But we also see that when Islam came to India during the time of Shahabuddin Gauri, तो उन्होंने जो मस्जिदें बनाई इंडिया में, फॉर एग्जाम्पल मस्जिद कुव्वत इस्लाम, तो मस्जिद कुव्वत इस्लाम हैड ए वेरी ह्यूज मकसूरा, इतना बड़ा एरिया था वो, ओनली द एलीट कुड गो इनटू दैट एरिया, जो जिन पे भरोसा किया जा सकता था फॉर द सिक्योरिटी, क्योंकि उस वक्त तो सारी रियाया हिंदू थी, तो मुसलमान तो बहुत थोड़े थे, बट दे वर रूलिंग, सो देयर वाज ऑलवेज थ्रेट के कुछ ना कुछ ये करना दे शरारत. So the screen which was built in the masjid, that Masjid Kuwait Islam, is quite big one. It's not visible today. Screen is all gone, but the arches that were holding that screen, those arches are still there. And also, when they built the second most important mosque in India, that is the Adaijan Ka Jhampada, that too had a maksura in it. So in Quran, we come across this word maksura in Surah Al-Rahman. तो अगर आप सूरह रहमान की आया 70 to 73 पढ़े, तो you will come across that فيهن خيرات حسان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان حور مقصورات قيام فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. तो فيهن خيرات حسان का मतलब है कि वो जो इतनी खूबसूरत और अला किस्म की ख़वातीन हैं, वो भी अल्लाह का एक करम है, उसके लिए हम अल्लाह का शुक्र अदा करना चाहिए. और ये जो हुरे हैं, जो जिनका जिक्र हो रहा है कुरान में, दे आर आल्सो सिटिंग इनसाइड खयाम, खैमों के अंदर बैठी हुई हैं. बट देन दिस डजंट मीन कि वो हुरे जो खैमों के अंदर बैठी हुई हैं दे आर बीइंग प्रोटेक्टेड. नो, इट इज़ अ काइंड ऑफ रिस्पेक्ट दैट इज बीइंग गिवन टू देम, सो ताकि उनकी जो है क्या कहना, ये हया जो है उसकी सेंक्टिटी एक्सप्रेस की जा सके. दे आर वेरी नोबल and they are very clean, so in order to protect them, जो उनकी sanctity है उसको explain करने के लिए उनको tents में रखा गया है, and that they have got an elevated place in the paradise. So that is the purpose of the khaymas in which those ladies are sitting, and that means these हुरें जो हैं, they are also sitting in the maksuras. Coming back to the geometry. Now the four gates, the number one is the Babul Jannah, which is over in the north area. Then the Babul Qibla, and Babul Dawood alayhi salam, and Babul Gharbi in the western side of the building. Then beside this, four important elements are the nodal point of this structure, We have quite a few other mementos, things to remember or things to be seen if you visit this place. One over here, immediately inside the Babul Jannah, slab which covered the Hazrat Sulaiman's tomb. तो यहाँ एक स्लैब है जो हजरत किसी वक्त में हजरत सुलेमान के मकबरे के ऊपर रखा गया था. That is important. Then over here we come across yet another little thing at this place, at the fountain of the souls. इसको बाबुल इरवा कहते हैं. बाबुल इरवा जो रूहों की एक फवारा सा है. I don't know the significance of this, but it is known by that. Then there's a prayer niche over here also, at this place. And then the footprints of Prophet Muhammad you can see at this place, in this building. And then also the footprints, the fingerprints of Hazrat Jibreel over here. So these are the mementos around the rock also. So that not only the building is important because of the rock, it is also important because of the mementos which we come across inside this building. So this is explained to you. Now let's look at the details of the funnel and its various parts. Now this is a funnel, this little thing at the top. From here to here, this is the funnel. The funnel is English word to describe the topmost portion which surmounts the dome. So that is known as the funnel. Then it is also known as a kalsa or kalas. हम अक्सर फारसी में उर्दू में कलश का लफ्ज़ यूज़ करते हैं. इंडिया में या हिंदी में या संस्कृत में कलसा का लफ्ज़ यूज़ करते हैं. And kalsa, and kalash also, and many other things also. We come to that. What is the kalsa? The crescent and the funnel and the kalsa, and then the golden dome is here, and then the clear story already explained to you, and then the buttresses, so that the dome is supported by these buttresses, so that it doesn't fall outside. And then the parapet of the building, and between the parapet and these buttresses, there is a sloping roof of the building, and then all 8 sides have the blind windows. And then the maksura already explained to you.